everybody. I'd like to call to order a special meeting of the Board of Education of the Goshen Central School District being held on Monday, June 1st at 6:30 p.m. in the boardroom.
To the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I need a motion for executive session. John Brett. Be it resolved, the Board of Education will enter into executive session with the intent to reconvene the business portion of the meeting for discussions related to the employment history of a particular person or persons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back in a little bit. Shannon and Billy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Obviously, no one's opposed. Keep this moving. Thank you, everybody, for being patient. All right, on to our next item, the president's report. So just a few items for everybody tonight. First of all, the audience is a little bit late tonight. That's okay. Thank you to everybody who's been coming out the past few weeks and speaking up, sharing your opinions. I will say it was incredibly respectful. Privilege of the floor was the greatest. Everyone followed the policy. We appreciate that. We've had community members who sent out some emails, which we also appreciate. It gives us an opportunity to follow up with some of those questions they have, because this is not necessarily the format for that. So if you've sent an email and you haven't had your questions answered yet, thank you for being patient. As you know, our first biggest priority is to get this budget passed. It is our biggest goal, and please be patient here and back. There were some great suggestions, and I think they, definitely deserve a little bit more of an in-depth answer. All right, secondly, the budget. I just want to say that tonight it's our intention to adopt the budget, and although we know that this budget may not be perfect in everybody's eyes, I really just want to say thank you to the whole team sitting here for working very hard at listening, hearing the community, hearing the team, answering the call to the best of their ability. And, there might be something a question that was raised, do we have a lot of administrators, for instance, people were emailing about that. We hear you. We feel that should be looked at diligently. We want to give that the time it deserves to make sure we answer those questions. So please keep in mind that some of those big suggestions you gave, we hear you, we want to get into them diligently. And tonight, again, we hope that you find that this budget meets the needs. So thank you for all the hard work.
Thank
you. Lastly, I just drink water. Excuse me, sorry about that. Just a quick update on the superintendent search. Bullet points, the board spent a lot of time, RFP, got a bunch of proposals from folks to help us in the search. We ended up going with BOCES. They didn't have any charge. It's a service they offer component districts for free. We felt it was fiscally responsible. Month by month, we tried to give updates. There were 3 rounds of interviews and screenings. We set up a subcommittee to work with BOCES to go through everything. And in each round of the interviews, we, had some staff members, some building leadership, some union representatives, even community member, and then finally the last stage is the board. And throughout that whole process, Mr. Bon Jovi made the cut every single step of the way. Tonight, unfortunately, the board heard from Mr. Bon Jovi that he is willingly rescinding his application, or his candidacy, I should say, from the permanent position. And so the board has decided that we must continue our role, our search, to go ahead and find the right fit for the job. Being that we are close to the end of June, we also discussed with Mr. Bon Jovi if he would be willing to stay as an interim and extend his time here for a 6-month period. And he was amicable to that, so we thank you for that. But it is our intention to continue the search, to reach out to BOCES to make sure we have the right team representing us to find the right candidate. So I just wanted to give everybody an update on that. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. We're
Absolutely.
In June here, but we are going to keep moving forward and do our best to make sure we have the right person for the job. And we appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thank you. Honestly, there's been a tremendous amount of work that has been done. Huge steps forward have been made. I'm just going to say that from our perspective, from the charge we gave coming into this. It's been an incredibly productive year, but we have to keep moving forward. So looking forward and moving on with the rest of the evening, I'll turn it over to our interim superintendent, Mr. Bon Jovi.
Thank you, President Loftus. So tonight, Dr. Carter, Ms. Van der Lemmer, and I will be presenting a revised budget, which will be adopted tonight. Good evening to the Board of Education, members of the public who are here, and certainly the voters and members of the community at home. So tonight we'll be presenting the revised budget for the June 16th revote. So again, voters, community, we've heard your concerns, we've heard your suggestions. We've consulted and discussed with the Board of Education and made adjustments to the budget accordingly. Next slide. So the total budget is 101,033,650. So that's actually down $16,801. So from the things we took and the things we put back in and lowering the levy, it's still, we ended up not too far from where we were, which I kind of had predicted you would be. The revenue 96,060,461. The appropriated reserves, that's 1,223,189. So that's down $73,312. That's a good thing. So we're not using quite as many reserve funds. We're using the same appropriated fund balance of 3.75, and the levy is being reduced. We were at the levy cap the last budget presentation at 3.06, so we're down 0.26 to 2.8. So that's down 148,746. So similar to the last presentation, just as a reminder, so this year's current budget, the 25-26 budget, was 5.4% higher than the 24-25 budget. This proposed budget is 4.4% higher. So a reduction of that 1% moving into next year, but still meeting all our needs. Again, the tax levy on May 19th, we proposed 3.06. That was the maximum tax levy. For the vote on June 16th, the proposal is 2.8%. Again, that is 148,746. That's what that 0.26 reduction represents. So we're below the tax cap while maintaining our programming. You'll see we also leave some room after our discussion publicly in a number of codes to account for any expansion of programs, new clubs, or student activities. Once again, we took, this is, remember, an estimate. This is an average. This is based on town of Goshen, just so the public can get a general idea, again, based on a 2.8% levy, and homes assessed at 450, 550, and 650. Certainly some homes are less, some homes are more. So those numbers are slightly lower, so you can, than the last presentation. Again, at 450, that's a little over $40 a month. At 550, it's $49.84, and then at 650, $58.90 per month on average. One of the topics was the superintendent's salary that was budgeted for. So we had put in 285, which we discussed publicly, was the average for the Mid-Hudson Valley. So we lowered that to 260,000. So that's the $25,000 reduction in that instructional code. We also made a number of adjustments in other codes. Again, the superintendent's code, those various non-instructional salaries. So really, we kind of looked at it and we tried to keep any increases as close to 3% as possible, or 3% or lower. The administrative salary of that minus 48, that's not having the director of technology position. On the right side, the teaching instructional salaries, so you see a plus 70. So that's putting back the social studies teacher into high school and keeping the TOSA in their position, because there are some stipends associated with that. The teaching extra classes plus 34,000. So we talked about, well, what about the possibility of any current programs we have if we need to expand upon them? I know that we've expanded. We did a presentation this year. The American Sign Language has been expanded this year. So that is just one example that could keep going. Or we talked about possibly if there's some new courses that come up. So the 34,000 represents, that's using the 6th period pay in the teacher contract That's enough for 2 people to teach 1 extra class all year long, which would be either a full year course or 2 half-year courses. The supplies, I will go over specifically some of those codes, so it's not so general, but an additional 24,000. The web hosts and benefits, we just kind of combine that. So that's a combination of the benefits for the social studies teachers being put back into the budget, plus about $4,000 increase for Cap Region BOCES, because we explained last time that we'll need to have them maintain our website because it's until we transfer over to Parent Square. So again, a total change from the previous presentation of $16,801. So specifically, again, some of those, I won't go through all of the codes, but some of the ones that came up again, the superintendent salary was lowered, the legal lowered 46,500. The teaching salary, so that again, that's the 34,000. That's teaching salary, extra class, 34,000. Teaching, so equipment, music equipment for the high school, an additional $4,000. Music equipment for CJ Hooker, an additional $2,500. GIS music equipment, $2,500. Scotstown, they do it a little differently. It kind of goes to their total general budget, $1,000. An increase of $4,000 in the high school play. Art supplies at the high school, an increase of $3,900. Art supplies at CJ Hooker, an additional $4,000. And again, just to reiterate, co-curricular, so that's clubs. So for the high school and CJ Hooker Middle School, an additional $5,000 for each of those buildings, in case, someone wants to start, the hacky sack club, and we don't have one. Now, again, we have to be realistic and just go over, well, what is the impact of a contingency budget? That would devastate any district. It certainly would have a tremendous impact on this district. Again, the total cuts, if the budget did not pass, would be $1,603,658. As a reminder, certain things cannot be cut. So transportation, textbooks, mandated supplies. That means supplies that are kind of directly connected to a particular course. Things that could be, obviously, you can see, people, that's your most expensive item is your staff. So faculty and staff, that's where, the largest amount of money. But core programs, athletics, and other equipment and field trips. As a reminder, it is mandatory under a contingency budget that the public would have to pay a fee for the use of facilities, and it's not the $25. It would be a large fee, and that's based on the custodians and other various costs. So it would be quite expensive for groups to use our facilities. The budget vote, again, that's June 16th, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's right here. But before we get to that, we have June 8th. So today is June 1st. So 1 week, next Monday, June 8th at 6:30 will be the public hearing. So depending on if we make any tweaks in the amounts or presentation, it'll be, the presentation won't be very different than tonight, but that is a requirement. So this gives a week for the public, the general public and the board, so to kind of digest all the information. We have the public hearing next Monday, 6:30, and then the vote is Tuesday, the 16th. And that concludes the revised presentation.
Thank you. Not particularly in order here on the agenda, but do any of the board members have comments to discuss to the presentation they just saw?
I have to.
Great, sure.
So, first thing, I just kind of want to second what Mr. Loftus said earlier regarding that this doesn't represent a perfect budget, right? I think we all feel that way pretty passionately, but we feel like this budget is the first step in turning the boat, if you will. Everybody can imagine a big giant warship, takes a lot of effort to turn that boat. And this is the first start of the week. One other thing I want to point out, because if I hadn't spent so much time looking at budgets the last, month, weeks, whatever, it's been all weekend. I would look at that budget and say, oh my God, you guys got voted down and you had 16,000. That's what you came up with. So I just kind of want to speak to that really quick as as the dumbest guy in the room, maybe hopefully it'll resonate with other people here or watching. We didn't just cut 16,000. 16,000 was kind of that result. We took closer to $300,000 and took it from, we heard a lot from the community. And I'm looking at the audience, but people at home too. We took a lot of feedback from the community that the community wanted a more student-centered budget. And we took, over 200,000, probably at 260, something like that, the exact number, in a few minutes I can add it up. But we took that out of what the proverbial fat was in the budget and in administrative costs, legal costs, all of these things that the community said, hey, this isn't about students, this isn't student-centered. And we put it back to people that directly face students, people that are teaching students, programs for students. And I just think that's super important for everybody to understand. That when you look at that net delta of 16,000, you probably don't feel great about it. Because the first time, full disclosure, you get that email and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna fly to the end of it. I don't want to read anything. I just want to see the numbers. And I saw 16,000, and I kind of threw my pencil down. I'm like, wait, we did all this work for $16,000? Didn't feel great. But when you look at all of the money we moved from things that don't touch students directly every day into buckets that do, whether it be art supplies, whether it be teachers, whatever it is, I think it's so important that people see that movement too, and that doesn't always show up. So that's probably in my soapbox here, but I really want the community to understand that we heard you 1,000%, and we're looking forward to working on it. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared that. If I can just piggyback on that, I second everything that John says here, and also, you're the ones who make these presentations all the time, so I trust in you putting that together. But if there are any ways that you think some information can be shown, demonstrated, graphed, to kind of get how one bucket filled another, to make that a little bit more clear, maybe for that person who wasn't at the prior meeting or the prior special meeting, or on all the posts about what's happening, so they don't miss the boat.
Yeah, for the people following along at home, if you look at the slide that was with the white background, it had a column on the left, a column on the right. The column on the left was stuff that you didn't really feel like were a student facing. The column on the right is all stuff that directly affects students. So easiest way at home, if you take your pencil out, draw students, non-students, that slide kind of dictates it too. So.
Any other comments on that?
Right, and the key is the levy's down to 2.8%. We did get some extra state aid. So we were able to, that helped us defray the going down to 2.8.
Great. All right, thank you. Yeah, just since we were talking about it, I figured we'd share in comments right now.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our next item. Need a motion to approve the new business. John and Scott. Be it resolved on the recommendation of the interim superintendent of school, the Board of Education approves the new business items as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Any signups for privilege of the floor? All right, thank you, Maureen. Any other open agenda items being covered?
I just wanted to remind the board and the public that we have a lot of great things going on this time of year, and today's video, which will be coming out shortly, will be covering them, but I wanted to specifically highlight the Special Olympics. So, see, we have at least
What a coincidence.
yeah, that is this Saturday. It is the 10th annual. It's at the high school, and if you can help out, that's great, but just come on and cheer on our students, because it's just such an uplifting day. If you're having a tough week, go to the Special Olympics, and that's gonna just raise all your spirits. It really will. So good luck to all the athletes.
Yeah, well said. There was an army of supporters and volunteers there last year. I think every board member was there to witness it firsthand. Really, well done. Great job. All right. Okay, with that, we just need a motion to close the meeting. John, Brett, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Have a great night, everyone.